Okay, so time to solve some more equations. This time we're going to use multiplication and division. Just a reminder of all the steps and what they actually look like. Obviously, first thing we're going to do is write down the problem correctly, right? Check for accuracy. Distributed property is up next. Combine like terms. Now, most of these we're not using right now. This last section we did add, subtract. This time we're going to talk about multiplying and dividing. And then don't forget to check your answers. So a lot of the steps are the same. Eventually, we'll be using all these steps, and not really in that distant future. Okay, so just as a reminder, multiplication property of equality and division property of equality are pretty much the same thing. If you multiply or divide the same thing on both sides of an equal sign, nothing changes, right? It's the way we solve things. If you do the same thing, it's equal, it's fair, so it doesn't really change anything. Division, we'll start off with that to solve an equation. The United States population in 2005 was twice the population in 1949. Find the 1949 population in millions. So if P is the population in 1949, and we know that it was 296 million, right? And this comes off that chart in your book. I forgot to stick that in here, but anyway, if we know that P is population 49 and current is 2.96 million, I'm sorry, 296 million, so I'm trying to spit out, equals 2P, we can just go back and divide both sides. So again, our goal is to get that P by itself, divide both sides by 2, and we find that 1P, or population 1949, was 148. Again, dividing the same thing on both sides. So pause here, your turn, go into class kick, you work one, please come back and check that. So here we see we have this equation, 4x equals 84. Obviously this means 4 times x. So to solve, we're going to have to divide both sides by 84. So let's go ahead and do that here real quick. So we have 4x equals 84. Divide both sides. Now I like to show my division as a fraction sign, right? So that means these 4's go away. X equals, well, 84 divided by 4 is 21. That's what we're looking for there. Go ahead and continue for another example from me. So continuing to divide to solve, another example here. Don't forget about all your integer operation fun, right? So we have our example, 5r equals negative 20. Again, divide both sides by 5 because this means r times 5. So you divide by 5 on both sides. That gets rid of, and I like to mark it out myself. I always feel good about that. That gets rid of the 5's here. So we end up with r equals negative 4 because negative 20 divided by 5 is negative 4. And that check, remember to plug it back in. Plug back in your negative 4 into the original equation. And we find that that is true. 20 equals 20, so my answer was correct. So again, pause, head back into class kick, and work another one. Remember, I am watching, and please come back to check. So 3 problems you should have worked here. We should have had, and I'll work each of those. And you can see I've provided the answers already, so you can check them kind of quicker. If you didn't have them right, make sure you do check that, please. So let's do these real quick here. On this one, we have on A, negative 3b equals 24. Obviously, this means negative 3 times b. The opposite is divide both sides by negative 3. That means these 3's go away. So do the negative signs, by the way. B equals negative 8 because 24 divided by negative 3 is negative 8. Continuing. Here we have 96. And it doesn't matter which side I write the variable on for these. For any of them, really. 96 rather equals negative 8n. Again, this means negative 8 times n. Divide off that negative 8. 96 divided by negative 8 is negative 12. So our n, because these went away, equals negative 12. And then finally, our example C here, we have negative 4d equals negative 56. And again, dividing both sides by whatever's attached to the variables, divided by negative 4. And D equals, now negative divided by negative is positive, so it's a positive 14 this time. And on each of these, I kind of skipped over the check, so I want to go back and cover that with you real quick, the idea of that. So here we would take this negative 8 and plug it back into the original equation. So I have negative 3 times negative 8. Does that equal 24? Well, negative times negative is positive, so yeah, that is a positive 24. And that's all there is to the check part. Nothing too fancy. Go ahead and continue on for another example from me. Obviously, sometimes we're going to multiply to solve. So this one, I'm going to rewrite this one just because I want to show the work. So I have, here I have x divided by negative 9. Now again, that fraction bar means division, equals negative 3. So we go, ooh, 3, 3, 3. No, stop yourself from that. Obviously, we're going to want to do the opposite of dividing by negative 9 and multiply both sides by negative 9. Multiply both sides by negative 9. That means this is technically negative 9 over 1, so that means the negative 9's go away. So x equals, now we have a negative times negative is a positive. 3 times 9 is 27, so positive 27. And again, showing that check, folks. That's where you go back and you take your answer, your 27, divided by 9. So again, plugging in for x, divided by negative 9 equals negative 3. Is that true? Well, 27 divided by 9 is 3. Positive divided by negative is a negative. So yeah, that does work. So my answer was correct. Go ahead and pause, head back into class kick. It's your turn. Alrighty, so here we've got r divided by negative 5. So I'm going to multiply both sides by negative 5, right? By negative 5. And that means these go away. So r is negative 50. Again, a negative times a positive is negative. Over here, I'm going to multiply both sides by 6. Both sides by 6. That gets rid of the 6's. So s is, now here again, you have to multiply now. 54 times 6. And you can do that. I know you know how to multiply. So that is 324, by the way. And then over here, last one, we're going to go back and I'm going to rewrite the whole thing just to make sure we've got this. Negative 30 equals t over 20. And that doesn't mean just over 20, right? It means divided by 20. So I'm going to have to multiply both sides by 20. And notice I write it as 20 over 1 when it's by a fraction. So I remember that it's on top, right? 20's cross cancel. So t equals, so here we have 20 times negative 30. Well, it's going to be a negative answer. And 20 times 30 is 600. And again, you can go back and do the check on these, and I highly recommend that. So like on this first one, go back and plug in negative 50 divided by negative 5. Oops, that's not a very good negative 5. Negative 50 divided by negative 5. Does that equal 10? Well, you betcha it does. So that's the check part, proving my answer was correct. Alrighty, there's those. If you have questions, please ask, folks. I've got the time to help you. You've got the time. No big deal.